Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Today we are seeing Kathopanishad, page number 65, verse number 20, second Valli. Yes, this you can follow. Second Valli is 20th verse, page number 65. See, there was a question by one Mr. Ganapati. He has asked a question, how can the limited be combined with the unlimited? It may not taint the unlimited, but how can it be combined? But we are not combining one fact with another fact. Because once we say the unlimited, the limited becomes an error, please. How can there be limited parallel to the unlimited? It's in fact unlimited. Your existence is unlimited, and all the objects that you see are not parallel to you, they are one with you. They are not parallel with you. Not that it is parallel and then we say, don't be parallel, and then we will combine it. It's not. It is recognizing that it is non-separate. When you say the snake is rope, you are not combining the fact snake with the fact rope. You are only saying what is perceived as snake is in fact the rope. Therefore, there is no combination of fact and fact, because unlimited cannot have anything parallel to it. And therefore, if there is something looking like parallel, that is only a perception. It is only an erroneous perception about the unlimited. Like snake is an erroneous perception about the rope, and that perception we say, what you see as the snake is in fact the rope. And therefore, we are not combining we are combining the error with the fact. Error can be combined. Error is non-separate from the ananya with the fact. The error about the fact is non-separate from the fact. Not the fact is non-separate from another fact. No fact is non-separate from another fact. Only between the error and ananyatvam is only of the error with the fact. There is no such a situation where one fact is non-separate from another fact. Think about this. It's very, very interesting. One fact is never separate from another fact. Only the error is non-separate from the fact. Therefore, if Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, when we say this whole Jagat is Brahma, that means the Jagat is an error about Brahman. It is only a perception in Brahman, and therefore it is non-separate from Brahman. It is made out of Brahman. The wave is an error. We say the wave is water. We are combining the wave, the perception, with the water, the fact. We are not combining one wave with another wave. It is not possible. One form can never be another form. There is always a distinction. The form is non-separate from the substance, the material. One part is non-separate from the clay. A pot is separate from the clay. One pot cannot be non-separate from another pot. A pot is non-separate from the clay. Similarly, an ornament is non-separate from gold. One ornament is not separate from, it is not non-separate from another ornament. Therefore, it is the error that is ananya with the fact, please. When we say ananya is a very beautiful word. Ananya means non-separate. It is the erroneous perception. We say that the flat earth is non-separate from the round earth, because your perception is about the round earth. And then you see it as flat. That is an error. That is a perception. Your correction, the perception is corrected by saying it is non-separate from the fact. It is in fact the fact. What you see as the snake is in fact the rope. That is called ananyatvam. What you see as Jagat is in fact you. It is non-separate from you. We say it is non-separate from you. It is you. The ornament is in fact gold. The wave is in fact water. Similarly, the jiva is in fact Brahman. And therefore, this is the question that has to be understood, that only the error is ananya with the fact. No fact is ananya with another fact. Therefore, how do you justify this ananyatvam? Think about this word ananya. What is ananya? What is non-separate from what? Only the error is non-separate from the fact. The fact can never be non-separate from another fact. There is no fact which is non-separate from another fact. This has to be understood by every educated person. If the Shastram talks about the ananyatvam, it is only adhyasa that is non-separate from the vastu, the fact. The error is non-separate from the fact. There is no situation where one fact is non-separate from another fact. You can't say even an adjective is non-separate from the noun. Why? Because it is sansarga, it is related. It is connected to the fact. It is connected to the noun, all right, but not it is the noun. Because even the noun you cannot be considered, it is full of adjectives. Is noun adjectives? Is noun made of adjectives? Or adjectives are made of noun? This is something even till today, it's not yet decided. Therefore, a noun and adjectives also, we cannot say an adjective is ananya with the noun. We can't say that. One fact is ananya with another fact. We can't say that. There is only one situation where ananyatvam is there. Only the error is ananya with the fact. And therefore, the limited is an error. It's a perception. A limited object is a perception. And it is ananya with the fact, the consciousness. And then, if there is nothing other than conscious, if there is nothing parallel to consciousness, your being, and you happen to be solely a conscious being, and that conscious being, if there is something parallel, you can attack it. If there is nothing parallel, how can you attack it? It is you. You can't attack yourself. There is nothing parallel to you. And therefore, the killer is the killer. The one who thinks I am going to kill the other person, he doesn't know. The person who thinks that I am killed, I am beaten by another person, he also doesn't know. Ubhautau na vijanitaha, nayam hanti na hanyate. The truth neither kills nor gets killed. The truth is something unlimited and there is nothing other than it. If there is something other than it, it can attack it. There is nothing other, it alone is non-dual. Whom can you kill in the deep sleep state, Ji? There is nothing other than yourself. There is only serenity. There is only a serene presence of your being. It is not a non-presence of your being. It is a serene presence of your being. It is the serene presence of your being. It is not a non-presence of your being, please. It is an unmanifest state of, it is an unmanifest state of your individuality. Your form is not felt. Your thoughts are not felt. Your emotions are not felt. And all that can be felt is not felt. And your existence is something. It is experiencing the serenity and it is felt. After waking up, you ask a person, how was the sleep? It was peaceful. It is not your belief, it is your knowledge, it is your experience. And therefore, sleep is something. In sleep, you are alone, you are non-dual. You can't kill anybody because there is nothing parallel. Therefore, the truth be having no parallel to it. It can neither kill nor can it get killed. Then we were saying the verse number 20 we have to see it today. Verse number 20. Anor Aniyan. The truth is subtler than the subtlest. Anu here means subtlest. The scientists don't think about subtlety and grossness. They think only about the smallness and bigness. Small and big, they think in terms of small and big. They think in terms of small and big, whereas the scripture thinks in terms of subtle and gross. The perceptibility of all the five by all the five senses is the grossest. That is, the earth is the grossest because it is perceived by all the five senses, whereas water is perceived by only four senses, and therefore it is subtler than the earth. The fire is perceived by only three senses, and therefore it is subtler than water. Air is perceived by only two senses, therefore it is subtler than the fire. The space is perceived by only, it is considered to be Shabda Gunakam. It is perceived to be only one sense, or it can only be heard. It has no color, no taste, no touch, no smell. And therefore it is something, the subtlest. In the waking state, the space is considered to be the subtlest state, subtlest element. And the subtler always accommodates the grosser. The grosser is made out of the subtler, is made out of the subtler. And the pramanam for it is only Shastram. Pramanam is not sense perception, please. The unperceivable is only the truth. The truth is the subtlest. And therefore it is said, Anor Aniyan. It is subtler than the space. Space accommodates four elements. Therefore it is subtlest. Whereas the Atma, consciousness, your sight accommodates all the five elements. It is, the space falls within your sight, and the other four elements also fall within your sight. And the sight is accommodative of all the five elements. And therefore, your conscious sight is indeed subtler than the subtlest. What is subtlest? The waking space has no boundaries. It seems to be the vastest in the waking state, but it doesn't extend to the deep sleep state, please. Whereas the truth exists, one's own consciousness exists in the deep sleep state also. Consciousness is there in the deep sleep state, in the dream state, in the waking state. Whereas the waking space doesn't extend itself to the deep sleep state, and therefore that is its limitation. And therefore, Mahato Mahiyan, it is vaster than the space. Consciousness is vaster than the space. It is subtler than the space, and it is vaster than the space. Why? Because there is a place where there is no space. That is, in the oneness there is no space, whereas the oneness is there as the source of the space. The space, the creation is not, doesn't qualify the source, whereas the source is present. Source also doesn't qualify the creation, but the source is there. Wherever there is creation, there is a source. But wherever there is source, there need not be creation. Wherever there is water, there need not be a wave. But wherever there is a wave, there is water. In the same manner, it is Mahato Mahiyan. Consciousness is subtler than the subtlest, and the vaster than the vast. It's accommodative of everything. But where is that Atma, which is subtler than the subtlest, vaster than the vastest? Where could that Atma be? Man always gets puzzled to think, where could it be? And that is why most of the religions have come due to human speculation. Speculation. What is the speculation? One thinks he is in heaven. One thinks God is in heaven. One thinks God is somewhere in Vaikunta. God is another thinks God is in Kailasha. In this manner, people think, speculate, speculate. Human beings are very speculative about the truth. Otherwise, this word speculation doesn't come without the truth. What is it that you speculate about? Only the truth. The rest of the universe is perceived. It is an object of experience, sense experience. It's not speculated. When you see the mountain, it is an object of perception. You are experiencing it. It is of course sense experience. It's an object of your experience. It's not speculated. You may speculate about its utility about you for you. That is speculation. That is subjective. All speculations are subjective. And if everybody, if that speculation spreads all over the world, then we think it is object, it is real, because popularity makes it real. When a speculation becomes very popular speculation, then we think it is real. That is how the human beings are cheated by themselves. Human beings get cheated. And therefore, where could that truth be, which is subtler than the subtlest and the vaster than the vastest? The Shruti says here, Atma asya jantor nihito guhaya. Atma, this Atma means one's nature, the actuality. Atma is a Sanskrit word. Don't think it is a Hindu shabda or anything. It is a Sanskrit word. Atma means Swarupam. Swarupam means the actuality. The Atma of the wave is water, to be a water. The Atma of the ornament is gold. The Atma of any error is the fact. The Atma of the snake that you see is the rope. That is the actuality. The Atma of you say the flat earth. The earth is flat. The Atma of the flat earth is that it is round. That is the actuality. Atma means the actuality. The actuality is the actuality of the whole creation is Atma asya jantoho nihitaha. Jantoho means it's prani. Every living being is called jantu. Every living being is a jantu. Even human being is an animal. He happens to be a social animal. He constructs a society. Therefore, he is a social animal. He is a conscious being. And even an ant is a conscious being. It is conscious of its own environment. It is conscious of its own dunya. Atma asya jantoho nihitaha means present. Guhaya means in the thought. It is present in the thought. It is present in the perception of every living being. It is present as the source of every living being's perception. It is the source. Why is the thought called guha? The intellect is called guha. Perception is called guha. Why is the mind called guha? Because guha means the error eclipses the fact. Your wrong perception, the wrong eclipses the actuality. The erroneous perception as though eclipses the fact. And therefore the error is called guha. Guha means guhayati. It conceals the fact as though. It doesn't actually conceal the fact. It looks to conceal the fact. The wrong as though conceals the right. Like that. The right as though conceals the wrong. The wrong as though conceals the right. The error as though conceals the fact. As the concealer, as the eclipser, it is what is called guha. Guha means like in something it conceals, the concealer. But right in that error, the actuality behind the error is the truth. And therefore the actuality behind my perception of myself as a limited individual is the fact that I am unlimited. Atma asya jantoho nihitaha means present. It is not doing anything. Consciousness doesn't do anything. Consciousness is. It's not by choice. Similarly, when a person falls unconscious, we say he falls unconscious, But he is only free from thoughts. He is not free from consciousness. He doesn't cease to be consciousness. That's why when he recovers the thoughts, he remembers, he recollects that there were no thoughts. That is an experience. That's not a belief. That means he was very much witnessing the absence of the thoughts. Witnessing the absence of the thoughts is not another thought, please. Therefore, this is where the students of Vedanta must understand. To be non-dual itself can be considered as witnessing the absence of the other. To be non-dual itself is called to be witnessing the absence of the other. Therefore, consciousness doesn't do anything. Consciousness is not a karta. Consciousness doesn't create. Consciousness only is. Akarta. Akarta means it only is. It doesn't do anything. And in erroneous person, when I consider myself as a form, then I become a karta, I become a doer, I become a mobile. I become mobile. I think. I become a thinker. As a thinker, I become disturbed. As a doer, I get disturbed. Then I have a desire. I have a desire, and when it is fulfilled, I feel happy. When it is not fulfilled, I feel unhappy. Therefore, sometimes I'm happy and sometimes I'm unhappy. These problems are there in any erroneous thinking. Wrong thinking is the problem, please. Erroneous thinking. Uncorrected but correctable. Uncorrected erroneous thinking about oneself is the problem. And therefore, correcting one's erroneous thinking about oneself is what is called spirituality. Spirituality is not a deed. Spirituality is a knowledge, is an education. Education about oneself is called spirituality, understanding the spirit of the whole existence. The spirit means I'm using this word spirit in the sense of actuality. The actual understanding the actuality of everything is yourself as a consciousness. Like all the ornaments, the actuality is gold. Similarly, there are so many limited objects. The actuality of all the limited objects is the unlimited. That is one's own existence. The actuality of one's thoughts is the actuality of the whole universe. Because the universe also is nothing but perceptions. Atma se jantor neto guhaya. I have explained this line well. Then, who can understand this truth? He says, tam akratuhu. A person who is not excited about rituals, a person who is not who doesn't have the flair for rituals, who is not interested in rituals. Tam akratuhu. Akratuhu means the one who is not interested in achieving things. Because you can never achieve anything which is bigger than you. And therefore, there is nothing bigger than you. Even if you achieve the whole creation, it's not bigger than the source. The creation is bigger than the source, is not bigger than the source. And therefore, recognizing your nature is the biggest, is the real achievement, is the real achievement. But the material achievement, no material achievement is bigger than you. Even if you become 10 times greater than Bill Gates, still you are not bigger than your nature, your actuality. Akratuhu means a person who is not interested in rituals, a person who is not interested in material achievement. Pashyati, he can understand. Vita shokaha, with relative peace in the mind. Relative peace. Vita shokaha means free from. When he understands, he is free from shoka. Shoka means he is free from depressions. He is free from the sorrow. He is free from the fears. He is free from the sense of insecurity, etc. Veta shoka. Dhatu prasadat. Dhatu prasadat means it is interpreted as Ishvara prasad, by the grace of God. But I am interpreting it as Dhatu prasada means Antahkarana, the relative peace of the mind. God's grace is always there, Ji. That he has given you intelligence to understand itself is one finds oneself with intelligence. That is the grace of God. That is the grace of God. Yes, I find myself with curiosity to know the truth, and that itself, that I am, that my thoughts are all soaked in the truth. That itself is a grace, and therefore, dhatu prasada should be taken as mental peace, relative mental peace. Dhatu prasada, mahimanam atmanaha. The glory of one's existence is understood through relative peace of the mind. Through relative peace of the mind. Relative peace is not something parallel to absolute peace. The relative peace is nothing but the absolute peace of the nature of the Atma. And that relative, we call it relative peace, but otherwise it is absolute peace. It is absolute peace because that is the nature. Ununderstood, it looks like relative peace, but understood, it is, in actuality, it is absolute peace. Peace is not something, peace is not something that is parallel to the self. Peace is the nature of the self. Absolute peace is the nature of the absolute self. That's why it is said, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma. Satyam, Anantam Satyam Brahma. Anantam Jnanam is Brahma. It is always unlimited, please. To be is unlimited. Unlimitedness is not something, a mobility. Unlimitedness means everything. The Atma is not everywhere. What we call everywhere is rooted in the Atma. The waves are rooted in water. In that manner, the entire creation, here and there, every here is subject to become there from another point of another angle. And therefore, but the truth is absolute here, which is not subject to become there. Similarly, the truth is now, which is not subject to become then. Whereas then can mean the past or the future. The present is always now. And the past and the future are rooted in the now. The past and future is rooted in now. In the same manner, here and there is rooted in here, the absolute, the truth, the present. Not that the Atma is everywhere. Everywhere is ananya with the self. The everywhere is non-separate from the self. Everywhere means every point in space. Every object in the creation is non-separate from consciousness, which is yourself, which can never become Dhatuji. You don't become something other than yourself. Other than yourself, you perceive. You perceive something other than yourself, but you don't become other than yourself. The truth cannot become something else. The truth is seen distorted. It is distortedly seen, all right. The rope doesn't become the snake. The rope is distortedly seen as snake. The rope doesn't become the snake, and therefore, dhatu prasadan mahimanam atmana. The relative peace doesn't come, is not something parallel to absolute peace. Therefore, happiness also, relative happiness, is not other than absolute, is not parallel to absolute happiness. It is the absolute happiness ununderstood. When in the mind, when the thoughts, when we have pleasant thoughts, we say, I'm relatively peaceful. I'm relatively, when we make a material achievement, I say, I'm relatively peaceful. I'm relatively happy. But then it is nothing but the absolute serenity of the self. It is Swarupa Anandam, but looking like as though relative Anandam. It is Swarupa Anandam. And the relative peace comes when you follow values, disciplines, and it is not bhoga that gives you relative peace. It looks as though bhoga can give you sukha as well as dukkha, whereas values give you abiding relative peace. Disciplines give you abiding relative peace. And self-control gives you abiding relative peace. And that relative peace can facilitate you to understand the truth. And therefore, Dhatu Prasadan Mahimanam Atmane. Ultimately, it is the glory of your being that needs to be understood. Atmanaha, Mahimanam Atmanaha means the glory of the self. There is no there is nothing else. There is no glory parallel to the self. Self alone is glory. Self alone is glory. It is not really the mountain is glory. The forest is that is empirical. Empirically, we call them many objects as glorious. If a person has achievement, they say it's a glorious achievement, etc. If you get a good house, and they say it's a glorious achievement. If you get a factory running, then it's a glorious achievement, etc., etc. If you're financially better, it's a glorious achievement. But that is all empirical statements. But the actuality is only your existence is glorious, please. Consciousness is glorious. Only the error cannot affect the fact. Why it doesn't affect the fact? Why the snake doesn't affect the fact? Because it happens to be erroneous perception, not parallel to the rope. Man's perception does not affect the fact. And that is why Atmas Dhatu Prasadan Mahimanam Atmana Haiti. This we have seen. Anuraniyan Mahato Mahiyan Atmasya Jantor Nihito Guhayam Tamakratu Pashyati Vita Shokaha. You don't have to have interest in rituals, Ji. Rituals give you results. You can't doubt the efficacy of rituals. If the rituals may give you some results, but those results are also limited. But the Vedanta is talking about your existence, which is unlimited. There cannot be the unlimited cannot be the result of a ritual. The unlimited cannot be the result of an action. It is not a result at all. It is not a resultant factor at all. It is what is. The unlimited cannot be. Like serenity, you can't create. Peace, silence cannot be created. The sound can be created. Human effort can create sound. God also can create sound. God cannot create silence. Even God cannot create the truth. God is the truth. God is silence. God is, there is no silence which is a part of creation. Silence is the very source, is the nature of the very source of the creation. And therefore, you don't have to, the real glory lies in you. That is what is glorious. What is brought about is not glorious. And then the next verse is Asino Duram Vrajati. Sitting here, it is Duram Vrajati. Duram Vrajati means you can think of America from here. You can think of heaven from here. You can think of distant objects from here. And all that is close or distant is non-separate from the seer, please, the thinker. The thought is non-separate from the thinker. The seen is non-separate from the seer. The heard is non-separate from the hearer. Call it seer, call it hearer, call it thinker, call it toucher, call it smeller, but it's all one conscious being, please. And whether it is seen or heard or tasted or touched or smelled, they're all objects. Objectness is the same, and also that is why subject-object relationship. That relationship is an error, please. The oneness is distorted as related. The one without a second. The second is perceived, and then you get related to it. Otherwise, if the seen is non-separate from the seer, then there is no relationship. This is every educated person must understand. How do you cancel out a relationship between A and B? The B has to be non-separate from A. If B is non-separate from A, then there is no A-B relationship. A relationship is cancelled out only by oneness, please. There is no other thing. Relationship is handled only by oneness. This every educated person must understand. Supposing you go and sit in the lap of a God, it is not oneness, please, because you can think of God as separate from you and you as separate from God. And therefore, it is a relationship. It is a father-son relationship. It is brother-brother relationship. And in the deep sleep state, all relationships are gone. There is only oneness. Oneness cancels out all relationships. You can't have a relationship. The truth cannot have a relationship with something. The truth is non-dual. And relationship is an error, please. Oneness is a fact. It is taught as oneness. Oneness is a fact. Relationship is only an error, and that can be a correctable error. How the relationship, the error is corrected? By understanding that it is non-separate from your being, the oneness. Asino duram vrajati. Sitting here, you don't move. You can think of distant places. And all that is distant is non-separate from your being. And the sitting, you go far. Sayano yati sarvataha. When you go to sleep, you become everywhere. Everywhere means you become absolute. In the waking state, you can think of distant things, and when you go to sleep, then there is nothing else other than you. It is all pervasiveness. To be is all pervasiveness. To be silent is all pervasiveness. Silence is something, it pervades all sounds. Consciousness, to be conscious means to be pervasive of everything. To be pervasive means everything is rooted in it. Like the water pervades all the waves. Pervades all the waves means all the waves are rooted in water. All the waves are made of water. That is called pervasiveness, please. It is present as the source of all the waves. Water is as the source of all the waves. Similarly, you become all pervasive in the deep sleep state means you become one non-dual, and the other is not there. To be is all pervasiveness. To be quite tranquil. Tranquility is the pervasiveness. Tranquility is pervasive of all noises. Pervasive of all noises means is the source of all noises. And therefore, asino duram vrajati, shayano, sleeping, yati, gachati, sarvashaha, sarvataha. Going to sleep, you go everywhere. Sleeping, you go everywhere. You become all pervasive. Means you become one without a second. But Swamiji, in the waking state, do you have a second? No. But man thinks that there is a second in the waking state. That is his perception. In the dream also one thinks there is something parallel to me. In the waking also one thinks there is something parallel to me. But in the deep sleep state, one doesn't think that there is something parallel to me. He is there. He stands as non-dual. It is his non-dual presence, please. It is not the absence of the waking state. It is not the absence of the dream state. That is called deep sleep state. It is the presence of the non-dual free from the waking and the dream. It is the waking free non-dual presence. It is the dream free non-dual presence. It is thought free non-dual presence. It is the object free non-dual presence. It is the body free non-dual presence. It is the sense organs free non-dual presence. It is parallel free non-dual presence. It is a state of non-dual presence that is everybody experiences. Everybody, when you wake up, you say, Sukham aham swapsvam. I slept well. It was peaceful. When you say peaceful, it is not your belief, it is your experience. You only recollect your experience. And therefore, Asino Duram Rajati Shayano Yati Sarvata Kastam Madamadam Devam Madanyo Gnatumarhati. Who can Kastam Madamadam? Sometimes it is, when it is in the waking state, it looks very sometimes happy, and in the deep sleep state, it is absolutely serene. And therefore, it is Madam, Harsham, and Amadam, Aharsham also. Sometimes it is serenity, sometimes it thinks of an object. It is non-serenity. When you think there is something parallel to you, then it is non-serenity. When you think there is nothing parallel to you, it is serenity. And such a truth, which seems to be, now it is, now in the waking state, it looks as though it has a parallel. And in the deep sleep state, it has no parallel. And that is called Madamadam. Devam, that truth. Madanyo Gnatumarhati, who can understand it as other than me, Bhagavan? The Lord Yama says. Madanyaha means anyone who is not, who doesn't understand. Therefore, the one who is dedicated to the truth alone can understand. In the next verse, it is going to be said. Nobody can understand it unless the one who is dedicated to knowing. Like nobody can be educated unless he is dedicated to education. Nobody can be a doctor unless he is dedicated to doctor. You can't be a good businessman unless you are dedicated to your business. Similarly, you are a person who is dedicated to teaching is called a teacher. A person who is dedicated to learning is called a student. Dedication is diligently dedicated. Diligent dedication is what is called surrender. When we say make surrender to Bhagavan, means what? Have dedication to understanding the truth. Have dedication to understanding the truth. You can't give up yourself, Ji. You always take things in your hands. That is the nature of the truth. The truth doesn't give up anything. You have to falsify all your wrong perceptions. The wrong needs to be corrected. And you can't expect some power to come and correct your errors. Errors don't get corrected on their own, nor something else can correct. The one who has the errors has to correct. And therefore, you may get an opportunity to know the truth, but you have to know the truth and correct your errors. Your errors cannot be corrected by somebody else. And therefore, dedication, the truth is something that is misunderstood as the Veka, is misunderstood as the dreamer, is there as the non-dual being. Sometimes it is non-dual being. Sometimes it looks as though it is Dvaitam. There is something parallel to it. Such a truth has to be taught. The non-dual truth has to be taught, that it is non-dual in the deep sleep state, and the same deep sleep and the same non-dual being is there in the waking state, and the same non-dual being in the dream state. Because the waking forms and the dream forms are only errors about the truth, and they are not parallel facts. They are only errors about the truth. The error doesn't make a second one. The error about a fact doesn't make another fact, please. It is a non-fact. It is an error. And therefore, who can understand this truth unless a dedicated person, except a dedicated person? A person who is viveki can understand the truth. Kastam madamadam devam madanyo jnatumarhati. Who can understand it except a person who is dedicated? Who can teach it except the teacher who is dedicated? Who can be a student unless he is dedicated? And because now it looks as though non-dual, now it looks as though having parallel. Dvaitam. Sometimes it looks Dvaitam, sometimes it looks Advaitam, sometimes it is Advaitam, sometimes it looks Dvaitam. It only looks Dvaitam, it's not Dvaitam. It's never experienced as Dvaitam. It's never experienced as limited place. Limitation is notional. It is a correctable notion. It's not an anubhava. Advaitam is anubhava. Limitation is a thought, a notion. Unlimitedness is not a thought. Dvaitam is a thought, and that means it is a notional. Dvaitam is notional, it's not anubhava. It's not anubhavam place. Perception is not anubhavam. It is not anubhava swarupam, it is anubhava vishayam. All right. But it is anubhava vishayam. But it is notional. All that is anubhava vishayam is also notional. That notional Dvaitam can be corrected. And the more of it we will see the next class. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.